Welcome to our 1-year anniversary podcast. You're listening to Taste It by isnt at www.isntmusic.com.
Ready.
Welcome to Why Complain When You Can Whine, making sense of the senseless. 3 professional women attempting to make sense of toxic nonsense, typically while drinking wine. However, we are in the daytime right now. So no real day drinking, morning drinking, although I do have a Pompolini, a grapefruit Pompolini, which has like very little alcohol in it. So I'm just gonna take a little bit, and my glass is, it's fall, y'all. Or no, happy fall, y'all. Can't even read. Happy fall, y'all. I'm Dr. Jody Larman, licensed clinical psychologist in the state of California. Therefore, anything and everything that we discuss on this podcast is purely for psychoeducational purposes. And maybe I'm not going to be drinking because I can't get this open. Only there is no therapeutic relationship given or implied. Yeah, I can't get this open.
Almost.
Yeah, I can't. I need a... Oh, well, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Heather, licensed counselor in Denver, Colorado, domestic violence survivor. And I'm not drinking either. I got vitamin water, bitches. And I don't, it's fucking October. It's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. It's almost Halloween. It's like our anniversary month of starting this podcast together. So welcome to the anniversary episode.
Hello, everyone. I'm Ashley Page, single mom, domestic violence survivor. Today, I'm just drinking coffee in a coffee cup. And that's what you got from me today.
Coffee in a coffee cup, as it should be. And as Heather just said, we have been publishing this podcast for a year now.
Crazy. It's been one hell of a year, y'all.
Oh yeah. I do believe it's gotten a lot calmer than it was a year ago.
Yeah.
But I think for you guys, it's gotten a lot busier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I could say that my life has gone calmer. It's just a different type of chaos on my end, but not the same chaos as last year.
Right. Is it a toxic chaos like last year?
I mean, the thing I'm learning about life, though, is that like I'm not responsible for the actions of others. So people will always be toxic. Always. But I think stress and craziness and demands of life and adulting can become toxic if we don't deal with it properly. And I think that's what I'm learning right now.
I know that, and I had mentioned this morning, that we all have issues. Even clinicians, therapists, psychologists have issues, but it's how we handle those issues, how we deal with those issues. It's dealing with those issues that, I don't want to say makes or breaks us, but that determines kind of how we're going to go about in life, because we all have issues. And one's issues aren't better or worse than another person's, because we have to live our lives, not anybody else's. But learning how to... Life is a mind game. It's all a mind game, and we are our own worst enemies. We are horrible to ourselves. We are negative to ourselves. We're self-deprecating. We beat ourselves up much more than showing ourselves grace and love and kindness to ourselves. So it's learning how to play that mind game more in our favor of showing grace and love to ourselves, and understanding that the only person that we can control is us. We can control our actions, responses, behaviors, and all of that. We can do things to hopefully influence other people to react and respond the way that we hope, but we can't control what they're going to do. Just our reaction to it.
Yeah,
Oh,
100%.
And adulting sucks. Just does.
It doesn't get any easier either.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, since it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I think that a lot of what I've been dealing with lately is and I've taken a turn on even my social media accounts because I'm so tired of I'm tired. I'll be honest with you. I hope no one cancels me for this, but I get tired of my story. And I get tired of having to tell my story, and I get tired of having to feel like my story defines me. And I'm tired of my trauma responses, and I'm tired of my triggers. I'm just like sick of my bullshit. And I don't want to say my bullshit because I don't want to and I don't even like saying that because I don't want anyone listening to take that for themselves. But I'm seeing how a lot of, and I don't know if either one of you can relate, but it's I see how a lot the abuse and the aftermath of the abuse literally affects every single aspect of my life. And to the point where I'm maybe I need to get a different type of dog. Maybe I need one of those special kinds of service dogs because I feel debilitated in my life, going out and doing regular shit and relationships I've tried having and how I just am triggered and traumatized about everything. And I don't want to go into necessarily what's going on in the world right now, but I had to turn all of that shit off, all the news. I can't watch anything because although I have no point of relevancy for what people in the world are going through right now with the war and everything, but watching it kind of almost re-traumatized me because of my ex hiring a hitman to kill me and being on the run and always being afraid of is today my last day. And so the last week, I don't want to make this about me, but since it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, last week I've noticed how severely my trauma affects my life and my ability to participate in the world like a normal human being. And it's exhausting. And that's why I've kind of been trying to take a different turn and figure out what the fuck it means to be happy, because I'm just always fucking depressed. I'm always in my trauma. And I almost want to will myself out of it, but I fucking can't. It's so hard. It's so fucking painful. I just feel like I'm just a domestic violence survivor. That's it.
I totally relate to that.
Telling your story, here's the thing. I think telling our story is so important, very important and cathartic. But there also comes a time where we don't even realize we become stuck in that as well. So we're telling our story so much, and for good reason, to help people out, to help ourselves and all that. But it also prevents us from continuing to heal and move forward. I think what happens is we stay in this point, because I know just talking about my ex a lot, I started having dreams about him again, not good ones. I started thinking about it. It's no, I've got to kind of back off and not talk about that at this point. You can only care about so many things before you become overwhelmed by it. And when you think you're helping yourself by continuing to tell your story, you're actually ending up kind of in treading water or murky water and quicksand where you're not moving anywhere.
Yeah, you end up re-traumatizing yourself over and over.
Yeah.
And that's why therapists nowadays, we don't do the whole tell us all your fucking trauma and all your terrible things that have happened to you, because it has such the potential to be re-traumatizing, that if it's cathartic for the first time or two you share it, that's fine. I remember my therapist and my victim advocate both telling me yeah, when it stops being cathartic for you, when it stops being helpful to share your story, you don't gotta do it anymore. And it's out there, the truth is out there, the world knows it, and there's a bigger part of the pie of who you are, right? It's just becomes a smaller and smaller sliver of who you are as you start moving past it and living your life and finding the things in your life that are also meaningful to you, that are also part of who you are. Because this is what we do, right? We've spent all this time fucking healing and trying to find ourselves again. And so by the time we start finding ourselves again, if we start ignoring those parts of ourselves because we're still talking about and identifying solely as a survivor, it's not healthy for us anymore. And then we're doing the same thing we fucking did when we were in the relationship with them, by letting go of the parts of ourselves that like matter to be completely involved in that person, you know? And so they are becoming like, my ex has become just this tiny little sliver of my existence, even though he made up such like a huge part of my life for so many years. Now it's just like, no, I'm building beyond this now, and I'm gonna be okay. And that's the other thing with like the triggers and the stuff where you're just constantly still feeling like you're traumatized all the time. Some of that is because you've, you know, made your identity online, this story, and some of it's just because fucking the world is a shitty fucking place to live in. Like we also have to deal with the reality that like we're not always 100% safe in the world.
Yeah.
And the difference is now we just have to figure out how to navigate that, knowing that the world is not as safe as we thought it was, and now we have to like live in it anyway, and figure out how to do that without just being like consumed by all these like triggers. And
I'm so glad though that you said that about therapists and not trauma dumping repeatedly over and over and over and over again, because I've had clients that have come to me saying, I'm so over my trauma, I processed it, but my last clinician is blaming everything on my trauma and I'm trying to move forward. And that's the thing, like, I'm so glad you brought that up. That's so important, that it's like, yeah, when it's not cathartic anymore, and it's more of a, honestly, you know, it's a burden,
yeah,
then it's time to, I need to start exploring those parts of me that I love, that I have found, that isn't the abuse survivor. That is, for example, that's Ashley, what Ashley loves to do, as not Ashley the abuse survivor, but Ashley the woman who has been through something and is now spreading her wings.
Well, and I think and I've talked to several women the last couple of weeks who have felt like very much the same, you know, and hearing people say, well, because of what you've gone through, like, I just don't think you're capable of having a healthy relationship, or I don't think you're capable of ever trusting a man again. I don't think, like, you know, you've just gone through too much. And it can be like hard, because for survivors also who like are like single parents, like I had a conversation with Naya this morning about how, like, while mama's trying to teach you something that I was never taught, I'm also trying to heal from something that I never like chose, you know? And so like it can be really like taxing on a person's nervous system, like at least on mine, to try and like teach my daughter about emotional regulation and about a communication and about, you know, all of these things when I was never given that. And like, I don't even really know how to fucking do it anyways. And I have a hard time emotionally regulating. So trying to teach my kid how to emotionally regulate when I have a fucking issue with it, like all these things that we don't really talk about, that we as just trauma survivors go through with children, is fucking unnerving.
Well, it's also CPTSD. I am so behind them putting it in the DSM. I don't want everybody to use that as the fallback of, well, it's PTSD, CPTSD, but it's very real and very valid. But the good thing is, with therapy, you can heal from it. You know, the emotional learning that you are not your trauma is huge, and that you actually control your trauma doesn't control you, is huge. Because there are so many people that are like, yeah, but if I control my trauma, then and I have fun and don't talk about it, that means it's okay that it happened. No, it doesn't. It means that that fucking shit happened and fucked up my life enough that I'm done giving it the power of fucking up my life. And I'm going to do my best to have a nice, as trauma-free life as I can. You know, it's just like you are not responsible for other people's feelings. You're responsible for what you say, but you're not responsible for how things are interpreted. You're responsible for trying to say your point in a nice and polite way to, you know, to influence people, but you're not responsible for if they're going to get happy or sad or mad or whatever about it. Your trauma is influencing you to be happy, sad, or whatever. So if you think about your trauma as a person, do you want to keep that person influencing your day-to-day life? It already did. Do you want it to continue? No, you want to move forward from it. And that doesn't mean that person didn't exist and didn't happen. It means I am ready to now live my life and cut that ball and chain and everything that's been holding me back. But I know that it's still there. I just don't want to give it the attention that it doesn't deserve anymore.
I read I found a Facebook meme that I'm gonna quote that I think is relevant to this, and I came across it the other day and I was like, yes, it is. Trauma teaches you to close your heart and armor up. Healing teaches you to open your heart and boundary up. And I liked that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about that is that for a majority of people, they assert boundaries with like control unhealed people. They assume that when you hold your boundaries and set your boundaries, that you're like trying to control them or like manipulate them. And so it's like it's navigating life after abuse while healing is one of ignorance really is bliss. That's really
right. Right.
Like it really is bliss, because once you know all this shit, I just feel like all I want to do is be healed. And then the more healed you become, the more you realize like I fucking hate this place.
Right.
Like, and I don't like most people, because most people are just like toxic as fuck.
And don't get it. They don't get it. Yeah.
And so then you just feel really isolated and secluded again, which like triggers me again. And like, I don't feel like people are having these conversations, but like, it's just, it's like navigating healing is one of the most confusing things I've ever done in my life.
You read something, Heather? Someone sent me this, and this also. Healing isn't a short-term process. It's a long-term practice. But it's not just about healing the wound itself. It's about retrieving what has been lost, integrating new parts, maturing in places that the trauma obstructed. It's about developing into the truest version of yourself possible after years buried below the weight of adaptation and disguise. It's about catching up with yourself after years on the run. Healing is a lifelong practice.
It's so annoying though. Like, that's a great quote. It really just kind of it says it all. And it also, like, while I'm hearing it, I'm like so annoyed, because it's like, yep, the responsibility that we have to our own healing and our own growth is like Ashley said, ignorance is bliss. If I just like wander around the world like most people do without really like doing inner work and healing old wounds and figuring shit out, it would be great. I would just be wandering the earth just like just happy as can be. But it's like, no, I've got to be looking within all the fucking time and like adapting to new ways of being in the world and new ways of communicating with people and new ways of fucking, you know, relating without like closing myself off to the world. And like it's energy, it's so much energy that you have to spend that it is kind of fucking frustrating, and it gets like exhausting, and you just want to like curl up in bed and just be like, can I just turn it all off please, just for a while, and just like be like dumb just be completely shut down and not thinking about it, because it's exhausting, and it's at the same time, it's our fucking responsibility to do it. So,
but I do want to say this is where cognitive behavioral therapy, I believe, in part, is instead of always thinking about that it's a lot of work, and it is a lot of work, and it is draining, and it is annoying, and it is upsetting because we didn't choose to have to do this. But at the same time, as far as grace and kindness and self-love and all that, is also look at it as you do get to become this butterfly coming out of a cocoon. So you get to choose what color you want to be, where you want to go. It can also be exciting to finally be able to eat what you want, go where you want, watch what you want, run around the house naked if you want without them yelling at you that the window might be open and the blank wall next to you might see you. You know,
Do you want them to see you?
yeah. We have a house. Our houses are like the lots are above me. So, and there's a big, they have a ton of bushes and trees. So you can't look into my house. Their house is back. My house is forward. You can't look into my house, but there's no, it's French doors. And I know, Max, people can see you. Okay, if they want to go
mine would
through
accuse
their
me
bushes,
of trying to be seen.
yeah, if they go through their bushes and try to look, let them. At that point, let them if they're that desperate, because it's not that great to look at.
So
But
there's another, this just brings me to another Facebook fucking quote, and I just don't want people to think it's my quote because I'm not taking credit for it. But it says, I don't care what anyone says, living alone as a woman is one of the most perfectly luxurious experiences of my life. And I was like, that's also true.
yeah. So if we look at those things, because we do tend to get stuck in the muck and the mire of, I don't fucking want to heal anymore. I want to be healed. Instead of, wow, I got to stay out till 2 a.m. with no one asking me where the fuck was I, no one blowing up my phone, no one waiting for me with God knows what. It was nice. And when I got home, spread out naked on the bed, the whole entire bed. We don't look at those things. And we should be holding on to those and collecting those. At the same time as, yes, it's fucking annoying, but look at the payoff. Look at the potential payoff.
And that, I don't have a problem doing that. Okay. Listen, if I was on an island by myself, I really wouldn't have an issue because I like being by myself. It's human interaction. It is very clear to me how fucking broken I still am. And how much healing I still have to do. And I can't, and this is what, like, when I hired Street Poet to be my life coach, this is when shit started going amok for me, is because she said, you can't self-isolate forever, Ashley, because I was fine living in my house by myself with just me and my kid, creating a little thing on social media, just engaging from behind a screen. I was fucking fine. The moment that I start bringing in relationships, whether it's friendships, fixing relationships with my parents, like not even men, not even romantic relationships, it's very clear to me, like, how much healing I still have to do. And that's what's fucking killing me right now, because we forget that, like, we were never really I was not a good friend. I didn't know how to be a friend because I was isolated by my ex for so many years. Like, so I never knew what it was like to have a friendship. My mom didn't teach me how to have friends. So all these human interactions is where I'm like, shit, fuck, like, like texting. I don't text people back. And it's not because it's fucking personal. I just don't, like, I just am in my own little world. And like, I think that's where my healing is, like, where it hurts the most for me, is having to deal with people.
You
have to remember though, like, you don't have to rise to the expectations of others, like yes, it's your responsibility to do your own healing, but it is not your responsibility to be perfect for everybody. Like, you don't have to, while you're developing relationships and friendships with people, be perfect at it yet because you're healing. You don't have to be like always texting people back or checking on people or what, which you do, by the way. Like, you know, like you're not a bad friend. I don't know where you're getting that idea from, but
I just don't know if anyone else feels this way. When I'm by myself, I'm fucking fine. I thrive when I am by myself. I don't get lonely anymore. I love sitting on my couch and reading. Like I could occupy myself for days. I could not leave my apartment for days and I'd be fine.
Yeah.
I made a post that said, am I the only one who I really, really want to go out, but I also really don't want to change out of my pajamas or lounge pants or get out of bed. I want to be, I want to be at home in bed, but I want to go out, but I don't want to go out. It's like this. Yeah. When I'm out, I kind of am like, I really want to go home now.
I go home. Yeah.
To my bed.
Seriously, it's having to engage with the outside world that fucking hurts.
You know, it's funny because I went out with my friends last weekend and I was thinking, because whenever we go out, one of my friends always talking to people, always got like every time you leave the table and come back, there's new people sitting there. My other friend, she goes along with it. And I'm just like, and I must come across as like a total bitch because to me, it's like, really, do we need to deal with this bullshit? But CPTSD and healing and all of that, one is there is no time frame. Like I said, it's a lifelong practice. And also you don't have to go by anybody else's time frame. And just because you're healing, if you are by nature, I love being alone. Healing does not mean going to a rave. Okay, I'm healed. Healing means I love being alone, but when people text me and stuff, and I'm huge on this, and you guys know I'm huge on this, communicating, hey, not feeling it in some nice way, I will text you back later. Hey, not ignoring, I'll text you back later. I've told people I am not peopling today. Don't take it personal. I'm not peopling today. And I'll get back to you when I'm peopling again. But letting people know, and you are well within your rights to say, I'm not peopling today. And that doesn't mean you haven't healed or you're slow in your healing process because you don't want to go out and do things. That's not healing if you're not enjoying it.
Yeah. Well, I think the other thing is that I feel like I need to give everyone a disclaimer. Like, I'm about to become a million different women because I don't know.
I thought you were going to say a millionaire. I'm sorry. I was like,
I
what?
wish. No, a million different women because I don't know who I am and I need to try out all these different things that I was never given permission to try before. Like I need to be obnoxious and loud and I need to try and be funny and like and figure out like what fits and what feels good for me. And I think a lot of survivors don't like, we get stuck in like an identity crisis because we're just like, who the fuck am I? All I know is misery. All I know is depression. All I know is fear. And like, I only know the person I was told to be and the person I was allowed to be. So I'm very scared to step out beyond that. And I think that that's something like a lot of us just need. It's okay. Like to hear someone say is like, go try and be lots of different things and fall down, try out new things, like try out new clothes, styles, and like try out like different types of music and figure out like, you know, sometimes you'll be extroverted or introverted and sometimes you won't. And like, it's okay. It's fucking okay. And find people who are okay with you being like that.
Can I give you, because I know we're running short on time, and so we got to wrap this up, but can I give you like, and anybody out there, a little assignment to try?
Totally.
To kind of write down who you think you are, and then write down who you think you want to be. Because how we perceive ourselves is really important, especially when you're healing. And then how we think what we want, not how we think we want to be, like, I'm going to try all these different things, but I would like to be someone, and be honest with yourself. I want to be someone who's comfortable in a crowd. I don't need to be the life of the party, but I want to be someone who's comfortable starting conversations and making small talk. That could be something, you know what I mean? But if you start to think about who you couldn't be and what you would like. Doesn't mean that's what you're going to be, but it gives you kind of a direction of, you know, I don't want to be someone who goes to raves, and I don't want to try that, but I will, because I'm going to try different personalities. You know what I mean? But if you kind of look at who you think you are at this point in life, and who you kind of, the direction you want to see yourself in, I am a huge fan of putting things in writing. And when we start to write it down and start to really let go, we can see a direction. And we don't have to try on a million different personalities, because we kind of can put it in, I want to be someone who goes for long walks on the beach and just sits and meditates with sound baths. I never got to do that. Oh my God, I tried it. It was the most boring fucking thing in the world. I don't want to be that person. You know what I mean? But if we, because sometimes what we think we want, also, we don't. But if you look down, what I think I am is a survivor who's terrified and has emotional dysregulation and gets triggered easily. Okay. It's not all that you are, but what is it that you want to be different? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
And because I and both knowing both of you has helped a lot, because I think a lot of people who don't go through what we've gone through are really ignorant in the things that they say.
yeah.
And oh my God, Mew keeps walking behind and she keeps bumping I'm sorry. She's insisting. This damn yeah.
We love you, Mew Mew.
Anyways,
Oh.
but like that, I mean, that, like, I think it's important to give that message to survivors, because we're just like, who the fuck am I now that I survived? Like, oh my God, this cat. Just right now, hold on. Yeah, okay, there's your moment of glory.
Like,
There you
what?
go.
But yeah, and I do want to say briefly, really quickly, because I didn't want to like really get, because it's such a tender subject, to anyone who feels like they can't watch what's going on right now, to any survivor, you don't have to. There's a lot of people in the world right now telling you need to watch, you need to see. You
need to speak out. No,
you don't, because a lot of people don't understand that for some of us who have endured our trauma, that it's not good. Like, I'm not dismissing what's happening, but it very much it was not good for me this week at all. Like, not at
That's
all.
with anything, though. That's with anything, because people, there's compassion fatigue, and we've talked about this before. Everybody expects everybody to be concerned about everything and to have an opinion and to speak out about everything. And if you don't, what is wrong with you? You spoke about domestic violence, but you're not speaking out about this. You don't have to. You do not have to. For your own mental health, because I know for my mental health, I don't like to post about it. I've put a couple stories up because they're gone in 24 hours, but I don't discuss if I can help it. I don't argue if I can help it. I want to watch fun things and promote positive mental well-being in my brain.
Yes, you're allowed to do that.
Yeah. And I just wanted to say that, because I had a couple of people really get on my case this week and saying, like, you need to say something. And I said, I can't right now. Number one, a lot of us Americans don't know enough to say anything.
But they're
And
saying it anyways.
like, I don't know enough history, but I had a couple of people get very, very upset with me. And I said, speaking out on my social media platform is not the only way for me to participate and help.
Exactly.
And there are ways I can elevate the voices of other people who are speaking out. I can make donations. I can call my representatives. There are things that I can do rather than like not. So I want to say that to some people who feel like they're made to feel like they're not.
Even if they're not survivors, just anybody. Yeah.
They're made to feel like they don't care if they're not saying something on social media. There are other ways for people to participate in any world event that requires, anything. There are other ways to participate. And I don't want anyone to feel shamed because it's too much for their personal mental health. So I just wanted to make that, because that really for me this week to hear from some of the people who really just were so mad at me.
Too many people speak out on too many things that they know nothing about just because they have a platform in general. And I think people need to just, if you have an opinion, it's opinion, and state it as opinion, and that is fine. But too many people are spouting on every direction facts that aren't facts, yelling at each other, fighting with each other, creating more problems. And if you are not saying anything, you're complicit. You're not. You're not. Protect your mental health. Honestly, protect your mental health. And what you need to do for positive mental well-being is what you need to do. And nobody lives your life except for you. Nobody feels what you feel and experiences what you're experiencing except for you. So anybody else can do other things. You do you, as long as it's not illegal, immoral, unethical, or harming people intentionally. And if you find out you're harming people and don't stop, it's intentional. Do you? Don't feel pressure. We're far too old for fucking peer pressure, man. But it happens all the time.
Well, and I told Heather, I saw this, and I'll say this really quickly. I saw this one beautiful, amazing, extraordinary Black creator. She came on and she said something that I needed to hear because I was sick about it. And every time I went to make a video, I sat there and I just cried. There was nothing, no words would come out of my mouth. And I was like, I'm not doing this. And I have nothing of value when I'm just sitting and crying because I have no words. And she made this video that said, to sum up, she goes, to any creator out there who is watching what's going on right now and is shattered and they don't know how to show up, not everyone needs to advocate loudly about this, because a lot of us have different roles to play, because this is this is affecting the entire world. And this is very scary because we don't know what's going to happen. And so she said, like, a thumb can't be a kidney. And basically a kidney can't be an eye, and we all have different functions. So for creators, some of us need to create the type of content that is just a break between these horrible, gruesome, triggering posts. And some of us need to create things that cause other people to laugh, like a moment in between all this devastation. Some of us need to support and elevate the voices of other people who are making very valid points by just resharing and reposting and commenting and boosting. And we all have different roles to play. We don't all have to join in on the noise, because some of us aren't effective when we do that. And I needed to hear that. I told Heather, I was like, I'm going out and I'm going to record lots of videos of beautiful leaves. And then I'm just going to put happy quotes and music just as a little break in between traumatizing posts. That's going to be my contribution.
I told someone, because they made a post of, I don't know what to say or do. And so I feel bad if I don't post. And I commented on their post saying, I purposely am continuing to create my regular content because we don't need 24/7, 365 everywhere we turn. We do need some normalcy. And so for my own mental well-being, I need that normalcy. Doesn't mean it's not affecting me. It means I'm going to choose to not be negative and all that. Because I made a comment and somebody's like, well, you mean this. And I'm like, fuck's sake. I'm like, no, I mean exactly what I said. Well, what you said was, what you mean is this. And it's like, oh, for fuck's sake, why am I even getting involved in this? This is even worse. I should just, it's worse for my mental health. So I just sit back and, like you said, I need to be entertained. So I watch Disney videos and food videos, although those aren't always entertaining, because then I go and look in the mirror and go, why am I eating? But anyway, and they can eat 10,000 calories and be fine. We did a whole podcast on that. So a whole other podcast. But we need normalcy. You need normalcy. Just like what you said, Ashley, if you sit and tell your story 10,000 times when you only needed to say it 10 times, it starts to affect you. So if you're sitting there and speaking on it, and watching it, and everything is just inundating, step the fuck back. You don't have to, just to care. Not doing it doesn't mean you don't care. Because like Heather or Ashley said, there's other ways to care.
Mhm.
So protect your mental health.
Yep. Amen to that.
On that note, thank you so much for tuning in. Episodes drop bi-weekly, usually every other Monday, or whenever possible. So click the notification button and it'll let you know. Like, share, subscribe. We are on Apple as well, all the places that host podcasts. And if you have any comments, leave them in the comment section, comments, questions, suggestions, topics, anything like that. Or you can email us at wcwycw1 at gmail.com. Heather, anything?
Nope.
Happy anniversary, Ashley.
Yep. Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Here's to another year, hopefully.
Cheers.
Thanks.